Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So here I decided to make a quick meal. Here I was making boiled eggs with Indomie. So I just started with boiling my eggs. And I don't know how you always time the amount of time that you used to boil your eggs, but for me I always just leave them to boil until I feel like they're boiled enough. But others always say you only need 15 minutes. Then here I had my spices. I only used onions and tomatoes. Yeah, it needs a lot of tomatoes. Then my egg were boiled enough, so I just took them aside. Yeah, then after here I put them in cold water. Yeah, cold water. Put them in cold water so that they can cool faster. Yeah, it is the simplest way of cooling your eggs. Instead of just putting them aside and waiting for them to cool. Yeah, so you put them in cold water. Then I fried my onions. Yeah, and I like them being like almost golden brown. Yeah, then here, because you are using Indomie, you have to use a lot of onion, especially when you don't want to use spices like turmeric or paprika. So you have to use a lot of onions, well, a lot of tomatoes to change the color. So, and these eggs were just easy to peel, but I boiled with salt. I had salt makes peeling them easy, so I boil them in salt, in salty water. Yeah. Then you just put in your eggs. Yeah, just put in your eggs. Then you can just leave them for a few minutes. Yeah, you can leave them for a few minutes for them to kushika spices. Yeah, leave them for a few minutes. Then you just put in some water, because Indomie doesn't need a lot of water to cook. So I used 4 packets of Indomie. So I had to let the water or the soup boil kidogo, then I added in my Indomie. So this is the easiest meal you can make if you don't want to make a complicated meal. This is the easiest one, especially for the kids. Yeah, it is, let's say it is just a lazy meal that you can make for around 30 minutes. Everything is done. So here it is served with some greens, so it has to be balanced. So I also put some greens and some tomato sauce. Yeah, it is just a quick, somehow healthy meal. Yeah, and I like this tomato sauce so much. Apart from zesta, I also like this. Then of course we took it with soda. Yeah, then this the next day I made pilau. Yeah, and pilau needs a lot of onions, and I like this pilau masala. It brings out the best color. Yeah, it brings out the best color. Then here I had my pishori rice from where So I had just to pick out some few stones from the rice. Then of course I used my Galaxy Cook pressure cooker, and I used the saute option. Yeah, I use the saute option because this option allows you to cook without covering. So I had already boiled my meat. Yeah, then here I have my onions, and I said for pilau you have to use a lot of onions because the onions also helps to change the color of the pilau apart from the pilau masala. Yeah, so the pressure cooker came to make our lives easier. Then here also pilau needs a lot of oil. Yeah, it needs a lot of oil. I think oil, onions, even pilau masala. Yeah, for you to have the best pilau, so you have to use a lot of onions. And you have to make sure that the onions are brown. Let me yeah, is it brown or golden? Yeah, then I added in my garlic, and you know garlic cooks fast. If you mix with the onions when they're not cooked, garlic will burn. So you have to put in the garlic when the onions are almost golden brown, so that they can blend in well. Okay, so here is where I add in my pilau masala in the just 2 packets. Yeah, there are 2 packs because I'm just making pilau for few people. Yeah, but even you can use one kama utaki kue kali sana. But two, I think two are the best because they also helps the pilau change. It changes the color of the rice. Yeah, because pilau should not be white. Yeah, so I had to leave my onions cook. Yeah, because we wanted the color. Then here is when I added in water. And I did not measure, just estimated the amount of water that then I added in my rice. Yeah, it is pilau and pishori from where. Then here I have my waru, my potatoes here. I added them in. Then it is just easy to cook using a pressure cooker because I'm just going to leave them boil for some minutes. So you have to cover the pressure cooker but not locking it. Yeah, just put the lid on top. Yeah, just put the lid on top because at least you have to stir. You have to at least kukoroga every time. Yeah, so when the water has drained to this level, you just switch off your pressure cooker. Then you lock it. Now it uses the heat that was in, yeah, to cook. You just switch it off, then it uses the heat that was accumulated to now cook your pilau. I think it cooks the best pilau. So here my pilau was well cooked. It is not ugali. Yeah, I think it cooks the best pilau. Then we had our kachumbari there. Then here the next day I decided to make it is vegetable rice. Yeah, vegetable rice using also the pressure cooker. And as I said, pressure cooker came to make our lives easier. Yeah, you don't have to strain. So I used carrots. So I add in the carrots, and for your rice to change color again, you have to use a lot of carrots. Yeah, you have to use a lot of carrots. And here you don't need tomatoes, you just use onions, minzi, and rice alone. Yeah, you don't need a lot of things, but you can add in other spices like pilau masala, paprika, and anything else you want. But if you just want it simple, you can just use the, let's say, the 3 ingredients. Then of course salt. Then here now I added in my minji. Then because you're using a pressure cooker now, just use a, you don't need to use a lot of water. And here I don't know, some people always say they don't wash their rice, and for me sometimes I wash, sometimes I don't. So here this time round I decided to wash my rice, yeah, using this strainer. So you have to mix them very well and add in just a little water. You don't have to add in a lot of water. Yeah, because the pressure cooker, it also has the steam, so you don't need a lot of water. Yeah. So you just leave the water to boil. Yeah, just leave the water to boil. Then when it is almost draining, you just cover your pressure cooker without locking. So when the water is over or almost over, you can just switch off your pressure cooker. Then the heat that was in will cook your food until it is done. So I think that's the advantage of using a pressure cooker. So here my vegetable rice was cooked, and as always it is well cooked.